Let's visualize 1/2 and 1/3 respectively. So this is 1/2 and this is actually 1/3. But take note they are not comparable. So to make them comparable, I'll cut 1/2 into 3 columns. Okay, like this. While 1/3 into 2 rows. So, okay, they are now comparable. Then after that, I'll rename 1/2 something like this, and 1/3 is like this. So 1/2 now can be renamed as 3 out of 6, while 1/3 is 2 out of 6. Okay, but take note that I'll remove these two parts, okay, from 1/2. So meaning to say, I'll remove this part 1 and 2. So, in order to do that, okay, I'll remove 2 parts from 1/2. So, now it will become like this. So, the fractional part of this region is 1 out of 6. Alright. So, to summarize our steps in subtracting fraction by another fraction, what we have done actually is we find the LCD or the least common denominator. Then we find the equivalent fractions. Then we subtract. So again, if we will have 1/2 minus 1/3, meaning to say we will get the LCD of 2 and 3. So think of a number that can divide 2 and 3, which is only 1. So 2 divided by 1 is actually 2, and 3 divided by 1 is actually 3. Then to get the LCD, multiply the numbers 1 times 2 times 3 will give us the LCD of 6. Okay, since our LCD now is equal to 6, okay, so minus, yeah, so we will now get the equivalent fraction. So meaning to say 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3 times 1. So we have 3. We will do the same process. So 6 divided by 3 is 2 times 1 is equal to 2. So we have now 3 over 6 minus 2 over 6, which is equal to 1 over 6. Let's review the steps in subtracting fraction by another fraction. So we have step number 1, find the least common denominator. Number 2, find equivalent fractions. And number 3, subtract. So we will get the LCD of 6 and 8 respectively. So I have here 6 and 8. Okay. So think of a number that can divide 6 and 8. So that is actually 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, while 8 divided by 2 is actually 4. But there's no number that can divide 3 and 4, so we simply multiply 2, 3, and 4 to get the least common denominator. So therefore, 2 times 3 times 4 is equal to 24. So this is now our least common denominator. So we will write here 24. Okay, since we found out the least common denominator, the next step is find the equivalent fraction. So we have 24 divided by 6 times 5. So that is actually 20. And then 24 divided by 8 is 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So, since we have now similar fractions, we will simply subtract the numerators 20 and 9. So, it will result to 11 over 24. 1/2 minus 7/8. So, we will get first the least common denominator of 2 and 8. So, 2 and 8. So, we list down here 2 and 8. So, think of a number that can divide 2 and 8. So that is actually 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then, there's no number that can divide 1 and 4, so we will multiply 2 times 1 times 4, so the LCD is equal to 8. So, now, since our LCD is equal to 8, so we'll write here 8. Don't forget the whole number 1. Then get the equivalent fraction of 1 half. So that is 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4 times 1 is equal to 4. And then we have here 8 divided by 8 times 7 is equal to 7. Take note that I cannot subtract 7 from 4. So meaning to say, I'll rename 1 here. To rename this, okay, I'll subtract 1 from 1, so it will become 0. And then I'll add these two together, 8 and 4. That will serve as my numerator. So 8 plus 4 will give us 12. And copy the same denominator, minus 7 eighths. Okay, and then I'll simply subtract 12 and 7, so I have here 5 over 8. Let's rename 5 as, uh, as 4 plus 1 minus 3 over 7. And then we will rename 1 as improper fractions. So I have here 4. I'll simply copy the denominator 7. And since my denominator is 7, I will copy this one also as my numerator. So, again, 5 was renamed as 4 plus 1. However, 4 plus 1 can be renamed as 4 and 7 over 7. Take note, 7 over 7 is the same as 1. Then we will subtract 3 over 7. Okay? After that, since I have here a whole number, minus no whole number here, so I have here 4. And then 7 minus 3 is equal to 4. Then copying the same denominator, 7. Okay, let's subtract first the whole number 4 and 3. So, guys, so we have here 4 minus 3 will give us 1. So those are actually the whole numbers. Then we have here 1 half, and 1/4. So we will get the LCD of 2 and 4. Again, so 2 and 4. So get the LCD of 2 and 4. So 2 and 4 can be divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is actually 2. Then since there's a number that can divide 1 and 2 respectively, except for 1, so we'll simply multiply 2 times 1 times 2, so the product is actually 4. So this is your LCD now. So LCD is 4. So the next step is simply find the equivalent fractions of 1 half and 1/4 respectively. So again, so we have 4 divided by 2 times 1 will give us 2. Also, so 4 divided by 4 times 1 will give us 1. So, now I have here the whole number 1, copy, then 2 minus the whole minus 1, I have here 1 over the denominator 4. Okay, so we will subtract first the whole numbers 7 and 3 respectively. So we have 7 minus 3, so we have 4. Then after that, we will subtract the fraction parts. So we have here 1 half and 5 over 6, so we will get the LCD of 2 and 6 respectively. And take note, okay, 2 and 6 can be divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 will give us 1. And 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. And remember that only 1 can divide 1 and 3. So therefore, to get the LCD, we will multiply 2 times 1 times 3. So the LCD is equal to 6. So this is now our LCD. And then we will get the equivalent fractions of 1/2 and 5/6 respectively. So 6 divided by 2 times 1 is equal to 3. And then we have 6 divided by 6 times 5 will give us 5. Take note that I cannot subtract 5 from 3. So I'll rename 4. So this is actually 3 plus 1. And I'll copy the fractional part, 3/6 minus 5/6. So now, I have here 3. Then, I will make 1 and 3/6 as improper fraction. So meaning to say, I have 1 times 6 plus 3. So I have now 9 as my denominator over 6 minus 5/6. Then, I can subtract now 3 by no whole numbers here. So I have here 3. Then, 9 minus 5 is 4/6. But take note that 4 and 6 is still reducible by 2. So I divide both by 2. So I have here, I'll just simply copy the whole number 3. Then, I have 4 divided by 2 is equal to 2 all over 6 divided by 2 is actually 3.